Welcome back to the Motivated Mindset. Have you ever stayed in a relationship longer than you should have, hoping things would change? Maybe you told yourself, if I just try a little harder, maybe this time will be different. Or maybe you were waiting for them to finally see your worth, to appreciate all that you brought to the table. But deep down, you knew it wasn't working, knew it wasn't healthy, knew it wasn't where you were meant to be. So why did you stay? That's the question, isn't it? Because the truth is, walking away is never easy. But sometimes staying is what's truly breaking you. Now, let me tell you something about leaving. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need to broadcast it to the world, and you don't need to explain yourself to everyone who asks. No, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave quietly with grace, with dignity, and with your peace intact. And that's what we're here to talk about today. 5 reasons why you should leave that relationship quietly. Because when you do, you're not just walking away from what's not serving you, you're walking toward the life you deserve. So lean in, because this is for you. First, leaving quietly preserves your dignity. Leaving quietly preserves your dignity because it puts you in control, not of the other person, not of their reactions or their words, but of yourself. When you leave quietly, you're saying, I'm not here to play the blame game. I'm not here to point fingers or get the last word. And that takes strength. That takes a level of self-respect that not everyone can muster in the heat of the moment. It's easy to lash out when you're hurt, to use your pain as a weapon. But here's the truth, the way you leave a situation says a lot about who you are. And when you choose to leave quietly with your head held high, it sends a message that says you refuse to let the situation define you. Now, I know what you're thinking. But what if they deserve it? What if they need to hear everything I've been holding back? And listen, I get that. The need for closure, the desire to be understood, it's real. But here's the thing about closure, it doesn't come from the other person. It comes from you. Closure is about making peace with the situation on your own terms, not waiting for someone else to validate your feelings or give you permission to move on. And when you leave quietly, you're giving yourself that closure. You're saying, I don't need to justify my decision to anyone. I don't need to stay in the chaos just to prove a point. That's dignity. That's grace. Walking away quietly also means you're choosing not to engage in a cycle that could keep you trapped. Think about it, how many times have arguments in a failing relationship spiraled into something even uglier? Words get said that you can't take back. Accusations fly. And at the end of it, you feel even worse than you did before. That's what happens when you let your emotions drive the car instead of your principles. But when you leave quietly, you're stepping out of that cycle. You're choosing to say, this ends here, not in anger, not in vengeance, but in peace. And that kind of strength, that kind of self-control, that's a rare thing. Now, let me tell you something else about dignity. It's not just about how you see yourself, it's about how others see you too. When you leave quietly, you're not giving anyone the opportunity to define your narrative. You're not allowing them to say, oh, look how bitter they are. Look how dramatic they're being. Instead, you're showing them that you're above the noise, above the pettiness, above the need to engage in anything that doesn't serve you. And trust me, people notice that. They may not say it out loud, but they respect it. They respect the person who knows when to walk away without making a scene, without dragging things out. That's the kind of quiet strength that leaves an impression. Leaving quietly also gives you the space to heal. When you walk away with dignity, You're not carrying the weight of a dramatic exit. You're not rehashing the last argument in your mind, wondering if you said enough or if you said too much. You're not replaying the moment over and over, trying to figure out how you could have done it differently. Instead, you're free to focus on what really matters to you. Your healing, your growth, your future. And let me tell you, that's priceless. Because the time and energy you save by leaving quietly can be invested in yourself and building the life you deserve, in finding the peace you've been missing, in rediscovering who you are outside of that relationship. And here's the most important part. Leaving quietly isn't about them, it's about you. It's about reclaiming your power, your voice, your sense of self. It's about deciding that you're worth more than the hurt, more than the disrespect, more than the disappointment. And when you make that decision, when you say, I choose me, there's a freedom in that, a lightness. Because you're no longer tied to the pain, no longer weighed down by what could have been or should have been. You're free to move forward, to embrace the next chapter of your life without looking back. So yes, leaving quietly preserves your dignity. It allows you to walk away with your head held high, your peace intact, and your future wide open. It's not about avoiding the pain, it's about rising above it. It's not about running away, it's about moving forward. And in a world that thrives on noise, on drama, on the constant need to prove something, leaving quietly is one of the loudest statements you can make. It's a statement of self-respect, of strength, of unwavering grace. So when the time comes, and you know in your heart that it's time to go, remember this: you don't need to slam the door to make your exit known. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away. Second, when you leave quietly, you take back your power in a way that's undeniable. It's not about what you say, it's about what you don't say. It's about refusing to hand over your energy to someone who feeds on conflict. You see, some people don't just thrive on drama, they depend on it. It's how they maintain a sense of control. They'll bait you with arguments, accusations, and guilt trips, hoping you'll react. Because as long as you're reacting, they know they still have access to your emotions. They still have a piece of you. But when you leave quietly, you cut that cord. You deny them the chaos they crave, and you remove yourself from their grasp. That's power. Leaving quietly isn't about running away from confrontation, it's about rising above it. When you refuse to engage in the back and forth, you're making a conscious choice to protect your peace. You're choosing to say, my energy is too valuable to be wasted on this. And let me tell you, that kind of restraint, that's not weakness, that's strength. It's strength because it requires you to resist the temptation to defend yourself, to explain, to argue. It requires you to stand firm in your decision, even when the other person is trying to pull you back in. And that's not easy. It takes a level of self-awareness and self-control that not everyone has. But when you can master that, when you can walk away without being pulled into the drama, that's when you know you've taken back your power. And here's the thing about power, it's not always loud. It doesn't always announce itself. Real power is quiet. It's steady. It doesn't need to be proven or validated. When you leave quietly, you're showing that you don't need the last word to win. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to engage in a battle to claim victory. Your decision to walk away is the victory. It's the ultimate statement of self-respect and self-worth. And that's a statement that speaks louder than any argument ever could. Taking back your power also means refusing to let someone else dictate your narrative. When you leave quietly, you're not giving anyone the chance to twist your words or your actions. You're not giving them the ammunition to say, look how dramatic they're being. Look how unreasonable they are. Instead, you're taking control of the story. You're saying, this is my life, my choice, my moment to move on, and I'm doing it on my terms, and that kind of control. That's empowering, because it means you're no longer living in reaction to someone else's behavior. You're no longer letting their actions or their words determine how you respond. You're acting from a place of clarity and intention, not from a place of anger or hurt. And that's a powerful place to be. But taking back your power isn't just about what you do in the moment, it's about what you carry with you after. When you leave quietly, you're not dragging the baggage of a dramatic exit with you. You're not replaying the last fight in your head, wondering if you said enough or if you said too much. You're not carrying the weight of unfinished arguments or unresolved anger.
Why are so many people
Instead, you're free,
even after having
free to focus on your healing,
education is often
on your growth,
to finance,
on the future you're building for yourself.
The reality is that many people with
And that freedom
still struggle financially. Let's explore the
That's power too, because it means you're not tied to the past.
The seventh,
You're not stuck in a cycle of pain and
so
resentment.
stay with me till the end.
You're moving forward,
Your mindset about
and you're doing it with a
health.
sense of purpose
Declare
and
it now by
peace.
typing, I will never.
Now, let me tell you something about people who thrive on drama. They hate quiet exits.
On it. You are the real money maker.
They hate them because it leaves them with nothing to hold on to.
Now, let's.
When you don't engage, when you don't react,
Investing,
when you don't give them the chaos they're looking for,
probably very few.
it forces them to face themselves.
Education leaves many professionals
And that's something
educated.
they're not prepared for.
They earn high incomes
Because as long as they can keep you tangled up in the mess,
financial struggles. But here's
they don't have to deal with their own
have to
issues.
stay financially
But when you leave quietly, you're not just taking back your power, you're shining a light on their lack of
by
it.
reading
You're showing them that they can't control you, can't manipulate you, can't keep you in their orbit. And that's a wake-up call they won't forget.
Investor by
Taking back your power also means reclaiming your identity.
money man.
In toxic relationships, it's easy to lose sight of who you are.
The power of
You start to see yourself through the lens of the other person's criticism,
by proactively
their negativity, their doubts. But when you leave quietly, you're saying, I know who I am, and I won't let anyone define me or diminish me. You're reclaiming your sense of self, your confidence, your worth. And that's a powerful thing, because it means you're no longer seeking validation from someone who doesn't value you. You're no longer measuring yourself by someone else's standards. You're standing in your own truth, and that truth is enough. Leaving quietly also means you're prioritizing your peace. You're choosing to protect your energy, your mental health, your emotional well-being. And let me tell you, that's not selfish, that's necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't heal in the same environment that hurt you. And you can't move forward if you're constantly being pulled back into the chaos. So when you leave quietly, you're not just taking back your power, you're taking back your life. You're making a statement that says, I deserve better, and I'm not waiting for someone else to give it to me. I'm creating it for myself. And let's be clear, taking back your power doesn't mean you're forgetting what happened. It doesn't mean you're excusing the other person's behavior or pretending the pain didn't exist. It means you're choosing to rise above it. You're choosing to let it go. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. You're choosing to move forward, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And that choice, that's where your power lies. So when the time comes, and you know in your heart that it's time to leave, remember this: you don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't owe them a fight, a speech, or a dramatic exit. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself freedom. You owe yourself the chance to reclaim your power and build a life that reflects your worth. And when you can do that quietly, with grace and strength, That's when you know you've truly taken back your power. Because the most powerful moves are the ones that don't need to be announced, they just need to be made. Now let's talk about the third reason leaving quietly is an act of self-preservation. And at its core, it's about protecting your peace. Peace isn't just the absence of conflict, it's the presence of clarity, balance, and harmony within yourself. It's waking up in the morning without a knot in your stomach. It's being able to sit in silence without your mind racing. It's being able to look in the mirror and recognize the person staring back at you. That's what peace is. And let me tell you, there's nothing more valuable. But toxic relationships, they have a way of eroding that peace little by little. When you're in a relationship that drains you, it's not always obvious at first. It starts with little things, a snide comment here, a dismissive gesture there. Over time, though, those little things pile up. Suddenly, you're second-guessing yourself all the time. You're walking on eggshells, trying not to upset the other person. You're losing sleep, losing focus, losing parts of yourself. And all for what? To keep the peace with someone who doesn't value yours. That's not a trade worth making. Leaving quietly is how you reclaim that peace. It's how you say, I deserve better than this, and I won't let this situation steal another piece of me. Leaving quietly also means stepping away from the noise. Toxic relationships are loud not just in arguments, but in the way they take up mental and emotional space. They're loud in your mind, loud in your heart, loud in your spirit. And that noise, it drowns out everything else. It drowns out your intuition, your ability to think clearly. But when you leave quietly, you shut that noise down. You remove yourself from the constant back and forth, the blame games, the guilt trips. You create a space where it's just you, your thoughts, and your feelings. And in that space, that's where healing begins. Healing requires quiet. It requires stillness. You can't heal in the same environment that hurt you, and you can't heal when you're constantly reliving the hurt. Leaving quietly gives you the chance to start fresh, to rebuild yourself without the distractions of drama and conflict. It allows you to process what happened on your own terms, without outside interference. It's in that quiet space that you can start to reconnect with yourself. You can figure out what you want, what you need, and what you're no longer willing to tolerate. And that kind of clarity, that's where real peace comes from. Protecting your peace also means protecting your energy. Toxic relationships are like a leaky faucet. They drain you drop by drop. You spend so much time and energy trying to fix things, trying to make the other person happy, trying to hold it all together. And what do you have left for yourself? Not much. But when you leave quietly, you stop that leak. You stop pouring into a situation that's not pouring back into you. You start to redirect that energy toward yourself, toward your healing, toward your growth. And that's a powerful shift. Because when you protect your energy, you're not just protecting your peace, you're protecting your future. Leaving quietly also allows you to move forward without carrying the baggage of a dramatic exit. When you leave with yelling, with arguments, with slamming doors, you're not really leaving, you're just extending the conflict. You're giving the other person a reason to stay in your life, even if it's just to argue with you. But when you leave quietly, you close the door without leaving it ajar. You end the chapter without leaving room for more drama. And that kind of clean break, that's a gift to yourself. It's a way of saying, I'm done with this, and I'm ready for what's next. Now, let's talk about why peace is so important. Peace is what allows you to show up as your best self. It's what allows you to be present, to be kind, to be patient. Without peace, everything feels harder. Small problems feel like big ones. Little annoyances feel like major grievances. But when you have peace, you can navigate life's challenges with grace and strength. You can face the ups and downs without feeling like you're losing yourself in the process. That's why protecting your peace isn't just a nice idea, it's a necessity. And let's be real, peace isn't something you can find in another person. It's not something someone else can give you. It's something you have to create for yourself. Leaving quietly is a way of taking responsibility for your own peace. It's saying, I can't control how you act, but I can control how I respond. I can control what I allow into my life, and I can control what I walk away from. That kind of accountability, that's what leads to true peace. People often think that leaving quietly means you're weak, that you're running away from the problem. But let me tell you, it takes strength to leave quietly. It takes strength to walk away without throwing blame, without seeking revenge, without needing to prove a point. It takes strength to prioritize your peace over your pride. And that kind of strength, that's what sets you free. When you protect your peace, you're also protecting your potential. Toxic relationships don't just drain your energy, they distract you from your purpose. They keep you stuck in a cycle of negativity and conflict, making it hard to focus on what really matters. But when you leave quietly, you free up the mental and emotional space to focus on your goals, your dreams, your passions. You create room for the kind of relationships and opportunities that align with who you are and where you're going. And that alignment, that's where true fulfillment comes from. Leaving quietly also sets a powerful example. It shows the people around you that you value yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. It shows them that you're not afraid to put your peace first, even if it means making tough decisions. And it shows them that strength isn't always loud. It's often found in the quiet moments, in the choices you make when no one is watching. That kind of example can inspire others to do the same, to protect their peace, to value themselves, to walk away from what doesn't serve them. At the end of the day, protecting your peace is about choosing yourself. It's about recognizing that you deserve better than chaos, better than conflict, better than anything that takes away from your happiness and well-being. It's about saying, I love myself enough to let go of what's hurting me, and I trust myself enough to know that I'll be okay on the other side. That's a powerful choice, and it's one that can change your life. So when you find yourself in a situation that's stealing your peace, remember this: you have the power to walk away. You have the power to leave quietly, to protect your peace, to reclaim your energy, and to move forward with strength and grace. And when you do, that's when you'll find the peace you've been looking for. That's when you'll rediscover the joy, the clarity, and the balance that makes life worth living. And trust me, no relationship, no matter how much history or emotion is involved, is worth sacrificing that peace for. When you decide to leave a relationship quietly, the impact goes beyond what you can see in the moment. It's not just an act of walking away, it's a profound declaration of your self-worth. The fourth reason, and perhaps one of the most meaningful, is about the message you send not to the other person, but to yourself and to anyone paying attention. When you choose to leave without the noise, without the drama, you're standing in your own power. You're saying, I'm not here to beg for love or respect. I'm not here to fight for a place where I should have already been valued. That decision, made in silence, reverberates louder than any argument ever could. Leaving quietly is about self-respect. It's about knowing that your value doesn't need to be explained or defended. It's understanding that walking away isn't a loss. It's a gain in peace, in clarity, in dignity. When you handle your exit with grace, you show the world that you know what you deserve. You're not staying to prove your worth to someone who couldn't see it. You're not staying to change someone who didn't appreciate you. And that confidence, that quiet knowing, it's magnetic. People notice when someone carries themselves with that kind of strength. They see it, they feel it, and they're inspired by it. Think about the people you admire. It's not always the ones who shouted the loudest or made the biggest scene. It's the ones who moved with intention, who knew when to speak and when to stay silent. Leaving quietly doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. It means you understand that some battles aren't worth fighting and some explanations aren't worth giving. It means you've mastered the art of prioritizing your peace over your pride. And that, my friend, is the kind of strength that leaves a lasting impression, not just on others, but on yourself. When you leave with grace, you're setting an example. You're showing others what it looks like to value yourself, to choose yourself, to walk away from what no longer serves you. You're teaching them that you don't need to tear someone down to elevate yourself. That kind of quiet confidence sends ripples through the lives of everyone watching. You never know who might be struggling in their own relationships, who might be staying in situations where they feel unvalued simply because they don't know how to leave. When they see you do it with strength, with grace, with dignity, it gives them permission to do the same. And then there's the fifth reason, the one that ties it all together. Leaving quietly allows you to focus on your future. Think about that for a moment. The future, the part of your life that's still unwritten, still full of possibilities. How can you step into that future if you're dragging the weight of the past behind you? When you leave with drama, when you burn bridges, when you insist on having the last word, you're not really letting go. You're still tied to the situation, still letting it take up space in your mind and your heart. But when you leave quietly, you're making a conscious decision to free yourself. You're saying, this chapter is over, and I'm ready to start the next one. You're choosing to focus on what lies ahead instead of what's behind you. That kind of freedom is transformative. It allows you to put your energy into your growth, your healing, your happiness. It gives you the space to rediscover who you are outside of that relationship. It opens the door to new opportunities, new connections, new experiences. Letting go quietly also means letting go of the need for closure. Now that's a tough one, isn't it? We're wired to want answers, to want explanations, to want validation. But the truth is, closure doesn't always come from the other person. Sometimes closure is something you have to give yourself. It's a decision to stop waiting for apologies that may never come, to stop hoping for understanding from someone who couldn't see your value in the first place. When you leave quietly, you're giving yourself that closure. You're saying, I don't need your permission to move on. I don't need your acknowledgement to heal. And when you let go of that need, you also let go of the baggage. You let go of the resentment, the bitterness, the pain that ties you to the past. You stop carrying the weight of what could have been, what should have been, what wasn't. You make room for joy, for love, for peace. And isn't that what we're all striving for? To live a life that feels full, that feels free, that feels aligned with who we are and who we're becoming. Walking away quietly is a gift you give to yourself. It's a way of reclaiming your narrative, of taking control of your story. You're no longer the person who stayed too long, who fought for something that wasn't fighting for you. You're the person who knew when to let go, who chose themselves, who had the courage to walk away with their head held high. That's a powerful message, not just to others, but to yourself. It's a reminder of your resilience, your strength, your worth.
3. The trap of
The beauty of leaving quietly is that it doesn't leave scars.
The more you're conditioned,
It doesn't leave a trail of hurtful words, of regrets, of actions you wish you could take back.
not on
It leaves you with a clean
From an
slate,
early age, we're taught to
a clear conscience,
get into a
and the freedom to move forward without looking back. It allows you to step into your future without the burden of unresolved conflict or lingering negativity. It gives you the space to heal fully, to grow authentically, to love wholeheartedly. And here's the thing about the future, it's always bigger than the past.
You're trading your time.
Whatever you're leaving behind, as painful as it might be, is only a small part of your story.
On the other hand,
your future holds so much more.
Understand the power of
it holds the possibility of new beginnings, of deeper connections, of a life that feels aligned with your values and your dreams.
Invest in
but you can't embrace that future if you're still entangled in the past.
To break free from job dependence.
Leaving quietly is how you untangle yourself.
About money management.
It's how you say, I'm ready for what's next.
Read books.
So when the time comes to walk away, do it with grace.
Financial literacy.
Do it with intention.
Learn about the stock market.
Do it quietly.
Real estate.
Not for them, but for you.
Opportunities.
Because you deserve peace.
You can achieve
you deserve freedom.
Independence through wise investment.
You deserve a future that isn't overshadowed by the pain of your past.
Supports your life.
And when you choose to leave quietly,
freedom to pursue your passion.
You're choosing all of that and more.
About job security.
You're choosing yourself.
Possible.
And that, my friend, is the most powerful choice you can ever make.
Don't just aim to be.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking.
To be financially.
But Denzel, what about accountability?
And investing wisely.
What about making sure they know what they did wrong?
Not the other way around.
And I hear you. But here's the thing, some lessons aren't yours to teach. Some people won't understand what they lost until they no longer have access to you. And by the time they do, you'll be so far ahead, so deeply rooted in your new season of life that their understanding won't even matter. Leaving quietly isn't about letting someone off the hook, it's about letting yourself off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the cycle of hurt, blame, and resentment so that you can move forward with clarity and purpose. So, how do you leave quietly? It starts with a decision. You've got to be clear about why you're leaving and what you want for your life moving forward. And once you've made that decision, stick to it. You don't owe anyone a grand explanation. You don't owe them an exit interview. You owe it to yourself to walk away with your head held high and your heart intact. Be intentional about your actions. Don't get caught up in the back and forth, the he said, she said, or the need to defend your decision. Trust that your choice is enough, that your peace is worth protecting, and that your future is worth investing in. And let me tell you this, when you leave quietly, it doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're avoiding conflict or running away. It means you're choosing yourself. It means you're prioritizing your well-being, your happiness, and your growth. It means you're saying, I deserve more than this, and I'm not afraid to let go of what's holding me back to get it. That kind of strength, that kind of courage is rare, it's powerful. And it's exactly what will carry you into the next chapter of your life. So to anyone out there who's holding on to a relationship that no longer serves them, I want you to remember this. You don't have to stay where you're not valued. You don't have to explain your worth to anyone who doesn't see it. And you don't have to make a scene to make a change. You have the power to leave quietly, to walk away with dignity, to reclaim your peace, and to step boldly into your future. And when you do, you'll look back and realize that leaving quietly wasn't just the right choice, it was the best choice. Because it wasn't about them, it was about you.